The basis of meditation is very simple. Zazen, I should say. For the time being, put thoughts on one side. Play the game. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't think. It means that, say, for this half hour that I sit down, I'm going to play the game of not thinking. Putting that on one side. Because I have 23 and a half hours in which to think. Play and see what happens in this process. It's not a matter of the aim of meditation is to have a blank mind. I was talking with one of you today, and she was saying that she has learned a lot through meditation, not necessarily what she was aiming at, And it's a truthful thing. Like when I first started, I started counting my breath, and I really wanted to count to 10, and I thought it would do certain things. But the things that I thought it would do, were secondary. The things that actually happen while I'm concentrating on focusing my breath, I learn patience. Far better thing than the result that I'm looking at. For one, there's patience. The second thing is I begin to see how my mind works, how I think, and what goes on, and the results, etc. And then I also learn with the difficulty of the amount of thought that goes on in my own life is that other people are like this. So I have a bit more tolerance for other people too. Because if I have difficulties with this, I can imagine how they have difficulties. The more I practice is that we're not that much different. It doesn't matter what labels we put on each other, is that we have basically the same ingredients. The one who sees through these eyes. How we use those ingredients can be as broad as the universe. But the very basics of the human being are here to see right now with each one of us. And the more that we see that basis that each one of us has, the closer and more intimate our relationships can be. And it's obvious. Each one of us struggles in our own way. So here we have a situation. It seems a little bit divorced from most of our lives, but you may have it in a business. Somebody calls in, he goes, I'm really getting to the point where I want to be on the golf course 3 days a week. I want to pop in for a day or two. I've done most of this over and over. It's intrinsic in me. I basically can do it in my sleep. It's about time I started training somebody else to do it. So, the businessman calls in his people. He goes, what would you do if the market crashed in China? And then they come up with their answer. Just off the fly, immediately they have to answer. So the businessman that gives the best answer is the one that's immersed in it and is living it, wouldn't you say? I mean, it could also be nepotism too, but but for somebody that really wants to pass on the business in a pure way will do that. They would pass it on to somebody that really had the best insight into the business and the one that could do it. Now, what other factors do you think would be in that? Because here, it seems like it's just an incident. Somebody's a cook, and they come in. Somebody's a head monk, and they come in. But what's behind that?
Experience?
Yeah, definitely experience. Yeah. And what's the experience? What's the basis of that experience?
Just like a total knowledge of what they're doing, like embodiment of what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, where does that come from? Showing up, right? Showing up. Showing up. Again, Woody Allen. What made you such a good actor? He goes, 80% of it is showing up. 80%. You think it's any different from practice? No. 80% of it is sit down on the cushion and fulfill your own promises to yourself. 80% of it. He's a cook. What happens if he doesn't show up? If he doesn't have food?
People don't eat.
Yeah. Man, his ears would be burning. Right?
Not just his ears.
Yeah, and then the thing is, I mean, there's many parts of it. Just really immerse yourself, and this is part of koan, is really putting yourself in that situation. Now, say he's having a bad day. What's one of the big lessons to learn? Say you're in a responsible position like that.
It's too bad.
that you're having a bad day.
Mhm.
You still have to get Paul Nook's fed. You still have to get.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's an amazing thing. And one of the biggest lessons to learn is that it's not personal. Most of life is not personal. You know, if you start adding the personal to it, then it becomes a real problem. We had this this lady that was going through a really hard time. You could taste it in her food. You know, it's just like you wouldn't look forward to dinner at all. You know, she'd have really good ingredients, but the product would be, oh God, you know. And again, it's that it's all part of the practice. Can you really take it in, say, an impersonal way? Whatever arises in your life, take care of what you need to do right now. It doesn't mean that you have to suppress those things that are coming in. But it's like sometimes, you know, I'll be having, say, family difficulties or death in the family or something like that. Is that when I talk, I'm not going to start moaning to you about it and how, you know, how difficult it is and stuff like that. You have your problems in your life. I'll try and do something that is appropriate, that doesn't, sort of cover that thing up, but also gives something to you guys. I can't drag you into my own stuff in that way. It's not what being a teacher is. It's not that I wouldn't show my feelings, etc. But it is secondary. It can be put on one side for the time being. See, most people can't do that. It's just that everybody gets dragged into the drama of what's going on. And what is that? It's impermanent. So we've had already 2 marks of existence here. The first one, no self, or it's impersonal. Second one is impermanent. And the third one, well, actually, I'd rather sort of integrate that in an organic way. So you have this this monk that comes in. You have the head monk. The head monk basically is trained for a period of time. Quite often he's been through a lot of these positions, and they're regarded as maybe the next one that's going to succeed. But they may not have had the sort of the basic, say, practicality of, say, somebody who's a Tenzo. Not necessarily. In this case, Hyakujo, the teacher, is looking for somebody to found a new temple. And apparently beforehand, this is just part of the story, and this isn't particularly Western, although I know some people that do this kind of thing. They called in a psychic, and had this psychic bring in both the head monk, so there was like a background to this. And the head monk, and he looks at him, and he goes, okay. Didn't ask him a question or anything, just okay. And he leaves, and he goes, too skinny. He's too skinny to take over a mountain monastery. You know, he probably needed a bit of meat on him so he could, you know, survive the cold, etc. You know, it's a bit more robust. And then Isan comes in, and we don't hear much about that. And he goes, he'll do. You know, he's got more meat on him. He can survive the cold. And if we jump to later, what actually happens is Isan goes off to this new place and he starts it. Nobody comes, and he's there for 10 years. So this also tells you something about his personality. So when we come back, so he's there for 10 years. And so apparently after 10 years he goes, I'm going, I'm out of here. And so then this tiger comes up to him and goes, don't leave yet. don't leave yet. I like these things. And so he decides not to leave. So some people are going to come. Next day 3 people come, and then it starts, you know, and he sort of gets the temple set up. But 10 years, so it shows you a degree of perseverance to be up in the mountains alone.